The Joseph Saga. What is a saga?
A story.
Okay, it's a story or an adventure. It's usually a long one. So that's why we're saying part one. It's an adventure about heroic deeds, great things happening. And so, we're going to have the saga of Joseph and all of his problems. In your bulletins, you will find an insert about Jacob. We thought this was about Joseph, didn't we? Well, it's going to be a little bit about Jacob, too, because he had some real problems. And he was part of the problem. You see, all the way back to Abraham, there were problems with double wives. More than one wife. I can't imagine that. I'll tell you, trying to take care of one wife. But remember what happened with Abraham? His wife couldn't have children right away, and so she says, "Here, have my handmaid." What happened? Jealousy all over the place. And then they came to Isaac. He had trouble. Not so much as that, but when he went into Egypt, he told everybody that, just like his father Abraham had done, that, oh, well, she's my sister, because he thought everybody would kill him to get his wife. And so he had that problem. And he also had family problems. Then we came to Jacob. Jacob not only had 2 wives, he ended up with 4. He wanted to marry Rachel, but he was tricked into marrying Leah first. And he didn't think this was fair, so he went to her father and said, "How come you're doing this?" And he says, "Well, the oldest daughter always gets married first. It wouldn't have been right. So I'll give you my other daughter." Wasn't that nice of him? "If you work for me for 7 more years." And so he said, "All right, I'll do this." And so he allowed him to have Rachel. But Rachel couldn't have children. And so, but Leah was blessed by God, because it said that Jacob really loved Rachel and didn't care much for Leah. And so God blessed Leah with children. On this, you'll see that there's numbers, and this is the way the birth order. Now, that's important too, especially in that time. The oldest son supposedly would always gain the big inheritance, and so the birth order was very important. But she had 4 children right away. And then good old Rachel says, "Well, I can't have children, so you can have my handmaid or my servant. You can marry her. She can be your wife. And she can have children for me and for you." And she did. And Leah got mad and said, "Oh, well, this is not good, because he doesn't seem to love me anymore because I've had all these children, so I'll give him my handmaid." And then she had some children. And then Rachel finally had children. She had Joseph. It's amazing that of all these children, there was only one daughter. At least that's all we know that they had. They had all boys. And all these ladies. And finally Rachel had Joseph. And then later on she had Benjamin. When she had Benjamin, she died in childbirth. he ended up almost wiping out a whole nation, or a whole tribe, because of what happened. And because of what they did, Simon and Levi ended up losing their place in the order of who was most important or who would get the birthright and stuff like this. Because they were the ones that went in and slaughtered a bunch of people over all of this that happened. And Reuben had gotten in trouble. And so there were all kinds of problems with the sons. And they argued among themselves a lot, it seems like. And there were all kinds of difficult problems. And we come to chapter 37 in Genesis. So would turn your Bibles to chapter 37. And I'd ask Robert, Mr. Carmichael, would you please come up? Come over here. I'm going to put him on the stand here.
That would be the first time.
Okay, chapter 37. Let's see what's going on. Let's just give a little quick overview here. First of all, Joseph was a young man who was 17 years old. And one day he went out and with a handmaiden's sons were out working. And he came back and gave his father a bad report, a cattle run. And then the next part is what's really interesting. Because Joseph was the first son of Rachel, Jacob really favored him. And it said he gave him this beautiful coat. Some said it was a coat of many colors, others said it had a lot of jewels on it and stuff like this. But whatever the case was, his brothers saw him and it said, what did they do? Did they like this? It said they hated him. They couldn't speak a kind word to him. And then he had a dream. Joseph had a dream. And then he went and told his brothers what this dream was. And this was his dream. He said, we were binding shears of grain out in the field, when suddenly my shear stood up straight, and the rest of you came and bowed down to it. The shears did. What he was implying was they were going to bow down to him. And they said, you think we're going to bow down to you? You think we're going to give respect to you? You've got to be kidding. They hated him even more, we're told. And then he had even another dream. And he went and told his father about this. He said, I had a dream, and at this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. And his father got a little upset with him. And he said, oh, you mean your mother, who was already dead, so kind of strange that he said it that way. But your mother's, I guess you could say, probably from the Hebrew, your mother's and me are going to bow down to you, and your brothers. And word got out that he had that dream too, and his brothers were even more upset. And then one day, a little bit later on, we're told that Jacob told Joseph to go out and see what was going on with his brothers. They were out tending flocks. And so he went out to see them, and they saw him coming in this beautiful robe that he had on, and they decided they were going to do what? Kill him. But Reuben said, oh, no, let's hold on here. Let's just don't kill him. Tell you what, there's an old cistern here where they had the water, but this one didn't have any water. He said, let's throw him in there. And Reuben said, was thinking, at least Scripture tells us, he was thinking that I can then come back later and take him back to his father. Let's think this through, in other words. And Reuben went off and did something, and the other brothers sat there stewing and thinking about it, and along came some merchants that were on their way to Egypt. And they saw the opportunity to really get rid of Joseph. And so they took Joseph and took it back to his father. And the story that they gave to the father was, this is his robe. What do you think happened? And his father saw it, and he said, a ferocious animal must have killed him, got to him and killed him, devoured him. And all that was left was his robe. And his father became very distraught. And so they all mourned for him. And for a long time, his father even said he couldn't be comforted. He said that this was he was going down to his grave. This was a terrible thing. Okay, so the bear.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like you to think about Jacob.
Okay.
And did he do anything wrong in this story? Is there anything wrong in his family relationship? He might have been doing?
He might not have been so old, maybe conceited with his older brothers.
Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah.
That was Joseph.
That was Joseph.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad?
Yeah.
Let me get it right. Well, I didn't see where he did so much wrong. He sent his son to go check on his brothers, who were tending flocks miles away, technically.
As far as his relationship with his children, is there a problem?
Well, he didn't. He liked Joseph more, but I don't know his relationship with his other children more than they were his herders.
Okay. They favored some over the others, right?
Yeah.
Especially Joseph. Okay, now Joseph, you were saying he was very bold.
Very bold.
So he went and told his brothers what his dream was.
I thought about it, and at 17, he probably shouldn't have, but yeah.
And he went and dealt with his father.
Right.
He told his father also.
Yeah. When you're 17, you know it all, and you're already great to yourself. So I would see that. I want his brothers and father to see that he was going to be something special.
All right. Father did get a little upset, didn't he, over that? He said he kept it in his mind. He didn't really go and do much about it. Didn't do any action. His father sent him out. The brothers, what about their reaction?
Oh, they didn't like that at all. True or not, they weren't happy.
They weren't happy. Okay. How about Reuben? What did you think of his actions?
Well, he seemed like the more level-headed of the brothers.
Right, he was more level-headed. He was hoping that, he said, let's don't kill him. I mean, this is not good. He's our own flesh and blood. We don't want to do this. But the others were still ready to kill him. They threw him in his cistern, and then their action was to sell him off. Which wasn't good. But what about what they did after that? What did they tell our father?
Well, that was, when they take his coat and throw the blood on it just to make it look like he was gone. And they could have just said, we don't know, we never saw him. So actually they were being more evil to their father than if they would have just said, oh, we don't know.
Right. Could have even told him. If they lied, they could have made a different lie, but the lie was one that really hurt their father. Extremely hurt their father. So all this was going on. Benjamin, I doubt, was out there because he was the youngest and wasn't involved in this. But the other brothers were. Okay, now, as we read Scripture, we're supposed to be able to apply it to today and to our lives. What did we learn from this chapter of Scripture? What are some things we might be able to apply today?
Well, first, don't put blood on somebody's coat and said you're dead. But I think overall, in using this chapter as a single deity, I would probably just the love of brothers for brothers. But if there's one that you're not, like he's the stepbrother, basically. So you're not, he's your stepbrother. But when your stepbrother becomes bigger than you, then you get a little bit more upset because you're the real brother, to you. So I think that has a lot to do because there's a lot of stepchildren nowadays, and then, back then there was many wives. So I guess it's, in a sense, it's the same thing. But I think more than anything, to take the word, you have to see that, like Reuben, he didn't want anything to do with killing anybody. And I know this is before Exodus, but I don't know why that's the first thought in anybody's head is I'm going to kill him. But I'm not sure. Me, as somebody who's deja vu dreams, I'm not sure I would have said anything. And I'm not sure what else to do for that question. But I do think that wearing sackcloth around your loin was really uncomfortable.
What they did a lot of times. One of the things that I really thought about as we were going through this chapter was the fact that in this day and age, we need to be very careful about what we tell others, not make up stories and lie. It can really harm people. A lot of times we say, well, what we do or what we say doesn't affect other people that much, but it really does. It has a tremendous effect.
Right.
In the lives of others. Thank you very much. All right, now we're going on to this little saga, and now we're going to skip a chapter because it really doesn't have too much to do with Jacob. Chapter 39. Okay, Lori, I'm going to ask you to come up. Kyle's not here, and ask her at the last minute to fill in. Joseph's in Egypt. How would you feel if you would have been Joseph? You carted off to Egypt. Your brothers hated you. They wanted to kill you. What do you think some of the feelings might be in your mind?
I would have been angry probably at first, but I would have definitely been scared. I would have been fearful maybe, not knowing what in the world was going to happen to me.
A lot of fear, I'm sure. A lot of wondering, why in the world did this happen? I had this vision from God that they were going to bow down to me and all this. And now here I am. I'm not even going to be around them anymore. Got rid of me. And so, but he gets to Egypt, and when he's there, he's sold to someone. Potiphar. He's an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials. He was the captain of the guard, and he bought Joseph. And Joseph was blessed by God. Even though he was going to be a slave, he was being blessed because Potiphar was so impressed with him that he put him in head over almost everything that he owned. And so he had the run of the place. He was over the other servants, the other slaves, and he kind of had it made in a sense. But he was told that you have rights for almost everything. You can take care of my money and my household and everything, except for one thing, and that's my wife. Of course, he said, that's my wife. Stay away from her. He probably had a good good reason to say why. Because what did she wanted to do? Well, she wanted poor Joseph to sleep with her. She says, come on, come to my bed, come sleep with me. And she kept on bugging him about this. She seemed to be a very wanton woman. Someone that's probably had had her way. Her husband probably had given her almost everything she ever wanted. And what did Joseph do?
Well, Joseph refused. He refused over and over and over. And he said, what kind of thing is this? He says, he puts me in charge of everything, and everything in his house I have free reign, but except you. And he said, and he could not sin against God. That was his focus. God, he had favor with God, and he was successful. And he couldn't do that evil. He couldn't do that evil.
Do that. And so, one day we're told he went in, none of the other servants were there, and she once again approached him and said, come on, buddy. I'll be bandaging her eyes and come on, Dad. Look at me, I'm a beautiful woman. Come on. Let's have some fun. And he said no. And he ran out. But in the process, she had got a hold of his cloak. And what did she do?
Well, when she caught it and everything, and she was saying, lie with me, and he ran out, she took his cloak off of him. And so it left it in her hands, and she kept it until her husband got home. Look what he did.
Right. And she lied again and said, oh, this Hebrew came in, he was making fun of me and wanted to sleep with me. And so, what did Potiphar do?
Well, Potiphar spoke with Joseph, and, he said that, this is what and when she said this is what your slave did to me, he put him in prison. I mean, he just, into the jail for the, and he was just put in there. And that's his decision, I guess, quickly.
Doesn't sound like he even asked Joseph on that. Just, okay, this is what my wife said, this is what you did. So they became very angry and threw him in prison. Okay, if you were Joseph, how would you have felt through all this?
Well, I am sure that I would have felt in some ways betrayed, maybe, by the whole situation, and maybe the fact that he didn't ask questions and he just threw me in prison. He didn't want to know my side of it. So I'm guessing I would have been a little fearful, maybe even still, not knowing what to expect now that I'm in jail.
Did you ever doubted God through this?
That was the one thing about Joseph. He had a faith in God. The Lord was with Joseph, and he knew that. And his focus was always never to sin against God. So I think that gave him great strength with that.
Okay, what about Potiphar? If you would have been him, how would you have done anything different?
I'm not sure that I would, although I'd like to think that I might have asked Joseph. However, he probably felt betrayed because he entrusted all of his things to him, and the Lord, of course, had favor on him, and everything was prosperous because of Joseph's love for the Lord and his commitment to him and everything. So he couldn't believe that he did that. So possibly I would have felt like he used me, and I'm just going to put him in jail. So maybe I wouldn't have had so much thought of talking with him if I was Potiphar.
Okay, in this day and age, how can we apply this to our lives?
Well, sometimes you're doing all the right things. You're doing all the right things, and you're in the places you're supposed to be. You're doing the job that you're supposed to do. And sometimes bad things happen. And the thing today to apply that when that happens is to remember the Lord, is to take him with you and remember where your strength comes from, where your hope comes from, and as Joseph did, because the Lord made him prosper no matter what. He never once turned his back on God.
In this day and age, when we're so tempted by sin that's around us, you watch television, you go to movies. Sex is something that's out there all the time. Immorality. We're living in a country that's that way. In fact, same-sex marriages. We have all kinds of problems in this country today, and in this world. And we're faced with this, and we're criticized if we don't agree with that. Just as Joseph was, he wouldn't give in, and so what was the opinion of even Potiphar? Said, well, you tried to do this, and he would listen to his wife rather than he was false. Than Joseph, he was falsely accused. Joseph was falsely accused, and sometimes we may be falsely accused about things that happen in our lives. Does that mean that God's turned his back on us? Turned his back on us. He has plans and he has purposes. So often we can say, why do different things happen? We need to trust. As Joseph would trust. Now we get to chapter 40. Moving on here. He's in prison. What a bummer, huh? From a cistern to a high place to a prison. Bill, can I get you to come down here? Okay. It says that Joseph flourished in prison, surprisingly. But the warden was very pleased with him. The captain of the guard was pleased with him. And so they put him in charge of some of the other prisoners. So even though you're in prison, at least he had a few good things happen to him. And one day, it says, sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master. And so Pharaoh, who was the king, became very angry and had them thrown in prison. And while they were there, they were assigned to Joseph. Joseph was to help take care of them and was kind of in charge of them. And they both had dreams. And Joseph noticed that there was something about them. He saw that they felt dejected. And so he asked them, why are your faces so sad? And their reply was, well, we had these dreams. And so he said, well, tell me what they are. I can't answer the dreams, but my God can do that. He can interpret your dream for you. And so, first of all, the cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, in my dream, I saw a vine in front of me. And on the vine, there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. And I took the grapes, and I squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. And Joseph then said, this is what it means. It means that within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and will restore you to your position and you will once again put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. When all goes well, what I'd really hope that you would do is that you would tell people what I did for you. You'll help get me I said, I'm tired of this here. And so the chief baker, he saw, well, that was a pretty good interpretation. He said, I'll tell him what my dream is. And so he said, I had a dream too. And on my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. And this is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat away your flesh. No, that doesn't sound good. So, if you were the cupbearer, how would you have felt about this?
I would be happy about the dream.
Good to be happy. If that dream was going to come true, and his interpretation was right, that would have been pretty good, right? And if you would have been the baker, what would you have thought?
Well, I would hope it was not true.
And I hope it wasn't true. It's a terrible thing to happen. Okay, so what does happen? On the 3rd day, Pharaoh, it was his birthday, he had a great feast. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. And he restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hands. But he hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to him in his interpretation. Then a sad thing happens. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot. Okay, if you had been Joseph, how would you have felt after all of this? You felt that it was fair when it happened to you?
I felt saddened that wasn't remembered.
He kept his promise. He agreed what he'd kind of agreed to. He said, oh yeah, I'll let him know he didn't do this. The cupbearer. So Joseph remained in prison. What did we learn from this today? Anything we learned from this?
Sometimes it'll be remembered, sometimes it won't. And just gotta put everything in God's hands.
Is it important to keep our word?
Yeah.
Okay, it's very important. When we don't keep our word, some bad things can happen. The cupbearer didn't do this, and we find that Joseph spent a little bit more time in prison because he failed to keep his word. But also, Joseph was given a better position in prison, even in his circumstances. Whatever his circumstances was, because of his trust in God, he was given a good position, even though it was in prison. I think when we do our best and when we put our trust in God, God's going to bless us as well. Okay, Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Laurie. I want us to see, what I was trying to get from all this is that we need to be able to take these stories from the Bible. They're not just stories to read and think, oh, well, that happened a long time ago. They can apply to today. In each case, there's things that we can learn from. And one of the things that we need to realize is we need to be honest, we need to flee from evil. We need to try to get along with our family. Parents need to be very careful about not showing favoritism to one child over the other. I know in my own family, I was the only son, and I suppose in a sense maybe my father did pay a little bit more I was very jealous because Dad always did things for you, and it seems like he didn't do much for me. And she was very talented in her own way, and musically she was great. And she ended up marrying a wonderful man and having wonderful children. But she always said, I didn't like you because I thought Dad liked you better. So I think as parents, we need to really, I'm sure there are times that maybe we like one a little bit better than the other for one reason or the other, but we need to always remember that don't show favoritism. And not only with our own children, but I think in our churches we need to remember that. Each person that comes here is important. We shouldn't try to put one over another. Each one of us has certain abilities and talents. Apply Scripture. The next time we go to part 2 of the saga. It's not over yet. Joseph has a lot more things that we can learn from these. Maybe there's things in your life you're having difficulty with right now. I would really encourage you to pray. To go to the Lord. Put your trust in Him. You need somebody to pray with you. You'll have to do that. Maybe illnesses need healing. There may be problems of anger. Maybe you dislike somebody immensely and need to deal with that. Don't let things keep hanging on. I think that's another lesson that we really get from this, that the brothers got mad because he went and tattled to his father about how maybe they weren't doing their job. And then when the father showed favoritism to him, they got mad about that, and they got angrier and angrier, and it led to a desire to kill someone. And what did Jesus say about killing? He said not only, it's not just the act of killing, but it's even the thought. The anger becomes the fact that you're so upset with somebody that you even wish somebody dead or dislike them so much. And we can kill people with our words and our actions. You know that? We kill our reputations. We can do a lot of things that really hurt people. And so we need to be very careful about not doing that. And try to always make peace with those that we're in conflict with. Even if it's their fault. Go to them and try to straighten it out. If they don't listen, that's their problem. But we make the efforts. As Christians, that's one of the things we need to do. And in this world where it seems today in this nation that Christians aren't exactly alike, we're criticized for a lot of things, and we consider it very narrow and bigoted. We need to still love people. Even when they criticize us, we need to still take a stand for the Lord. We still need to show kindness, not fight back in a way that's, don't argue over these things. Try to show love. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. And as we do so, remember God's great love for us and what He did for us. His Son came and died on that cross for us because of His great love for us. Heavenly Father, thank you for your scriptures. Thank you for this story of Joseph you for the story of Jacob, the father, as well, and back to Abraham, and back to the very first of Adam and Eve. Not all of it is good. In fact, some of it is really terrible. But Lord, it's a reminder that regardless of the circumstances, you're still there. That you love and you care. We live in a day and age when things are not good. We look around us and we see so much pain and so many problems. We see that there's so much godlessness. And people just have no desire to follow you. Lord, we want to pray for them. We want to pray that you will touch their hearts. You will help them to see the need for you. And Lord, help us to be good examples. Help us to let others know of your great love. The power of forgiveness. The power of knowing and being part of God's family. Lord, give our church vision. Give us a desire to grow, to reach out and to touch others. Give us a desire to grow even closer to you, to get into your word and to apply it to our lives, and to see how we can take it and use it to bring glory and honor to you. Lord, help us as we go through a search for a new leader, a new pastor. Lord, give us wisdom. We pray that just the right person will be found. Guide and direct us, Lord. Most of all, Lord, we want to thank you for